Hi there. I just want to do a quick update with a few reflections on things that have come up in other people's videos and some great comments on mine. Hi there. I want to talk about a few things, and this might be a little disjointed because this is very ad hoc. So the first thing I want to say is in Chapter 26, Part 1 of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance that I did last Sunday, I don't want to give the impression that I think that there's a problem with what Jamie Wheel is doing, kind of implementing the flow state and these are services. So it's a program and they charge for these services. I don't think that's a bad thing in itself. A lot of the criticisms I make of people aren't criticisms per se. What they are is saying that this particular thing is not parallel to Pirsig's philosophy. For example, there's to just get into the flow state, as a mode of being for productivity is using the rational knife. You're saying, well, I want to be productive, therefore let's take this flow state out, and how can we do that? And here are the rational ways to do it. The same with mindfulness. You extract mindfulness from Buddhist practice and use it for more subject-object ends. The ends of these practices are being used not for the greater, not for more of a spiritual way of being in the world. And this is going to come up in the second part of chapter 26, but more of a way of getting what you want out of the subject-object world. Although not entirely, because I think Jamie Wheel and the people who are using mindfulness do want to kind of enter a new way of seeing things, although I don't think it's as defined. Their game B per se, I don't think really is defined like Pirsig did, where their actual metaphysics, shifts from seeing subjects and objects to seeing reality as the essence of reality. I mean, quality is the essence of reality. So what I'm saying is that these practices use the rational knife to extract these modes, use these practices, they extract them from the original ecology of practices and spirituality, from the religion, let's just say, in terms of mindfulness, and just use that to get something out of the Western world. So it's kind of a lower quality use of these practices. The highest quality use is for a totality of being and a new way of being in the world that works with the way things are rather than with subjects and objects. So I hope that makes sense. So I don't think that there's anything he's doing this wrong, or that the mindfulness people are doing that is wrong. I think actually, that what they're doing is a net positive. So if you're using these practices to improve your life, it's a lot better than using something a little bit more let's just say rivalrous. I think they like to use that term. So there's that. The second thing I wanted to say is that Karen of the Meaning Code said that this confronting these gumption traps is like confronting anomaly in Jordan Peterson's chapter 4. And I think that's an interesting thing to look at, because I think that it takes... One thing Jordan Peterson said is that the reason anomaly is so frightening is because it's associated with death in a lot of ways, and in a way it is. I think he used the metaphor of having to burn off, parts of yourself in order to become a new person, and that's frightening. So anomaly is often associated with death, and I think there has to be a way of seeing anomaly that's very difficult for us. We have to kind of circumvent our biology, and we have to, to be able to use anomaly to the best advantage would be that when something like that comes up, you don't automatically think it's a negative thing. You are curious. So curiosity is part of Buddhist practice, actually. So being curious about anomaly, like even if it's something that seems very negative, like someone saying something very negative, being a jerk or something like that, you kind of have to take a leap of faith that that anomaly has something to offer, and that is very counter to how we actually act in the world. We don't like anomaly. We don't, we like novelty, but we don't like anomaly, or sometimes we like novelty, depending on our temperament. And so that's a matter of, and that's a kind of spiritual practice, is that you have to actually see these things as in a different way. You do have to take a leap of faith. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Maldiv had some really good comments. Okay, on chapter 25, I said at the end of it that it looks like Robert, he doesn't say the narrator. I like this. I'm going to start doing this. He calls the narrator Robert Piercing. So Robert and Chris seem to not be communicating. And after all this, conceptualizing the world in this dynamic way, once he gets to his son's, the relationship with the son, it almost seems like he's trying to analyze it in sort of with a rational knife, and that he's not getting to the essence of the quality that can potentially unite them. So I want to read what, and a lot of this, of course, has to do with the fact that he's really trying to keep Phaedrus at bay. He really still thinks that this anomaly is negative. So this is what Maldiv says. Chris and Robert have lost many shared experiences. This existential separateness Robert highlights is something we all feel, but importantly, to different degrees, it's not absolute. The two are most attuned via the awareness of the changing landscape. And the shifting mood of the day, essentially an effort to rebuild the relationship with new shared experiences, a shared awareness of quality. In the moment, shared awareness of quality. That sounds like, really, if you're trying to put this into practice as a spiritual practice, let's just say that might be a clue as to how to implement this particular thing, shared awareness of quality. Absent from shared experience is the cold, crisp air of rational self-consciousness that characterizes existential separateness. And so, being submerged in the same river of quality is the foundation of social progress. River of quality. Maldiv mentions this in another comment. So, the rational self-consciousness is they're kind of stuck there because the foundation isn't good, because Robert isn't being himself. He's trying to be someone he's not. And so, and that's going to come up in 26 part 2. It's an ego trap. He's so frightened of Phaedrus, and he's so long decided that Phaedrus is an anomaly to be avoided, that it's hard to connect with quality when you're not doing it from your real self, when you're doing it with the false self that is maintained with ego. And you will see that this Sunday. Okay, so I want to read the other quote that Maldiv wrote. He actually wrote that before, and I probably should have read it. The abstract, undefined, free-flowing river called quality appears smaller when the objects that surround that river seem to carry it. That is to say, the objects are themselves imbued with quality. The objects become the river. So that's when I was asking, why is the narrator saying the river is becoming narrower? And it's because everything is taking on quality in this landscape. So the river doesn't need to hold the totality of quality. The next thing I want to talk about is yesterday there was a really good discussion, wonderful discussion with John Vervaeke, Guy Sengstock, Jordan Hall, and Chris Mastropietro. And John Vervaeke said a really great thing. So one thing that we're losing in the digital world is a physical connection with the world. And John Vervaeke says we have to start thouing the world. I mean, really seeing it as a part of us. I guess you would, I might be getting this wrong, but maybe you're participating with the physicality of the world. Again, something we used to do all the time and something we can 100% avoid for the most part, except for eating and sleeping and stuff, by living in the internet. And so many people live in the internet now. And remember that the internet, according to John, has like the orders, the 3 orders are in there, so you can really feel like your life is complete and still live in the internet. And it's really a terrible problem. So and then Mary Cohan said in the comments, I wish you would say the earth instead of the world. I wish you all would use the word earth. And she's, I believe by saying this, what she's trying to suggest is that we are seeing the physicality of the world and how important that is. And I don't know if this is parallel, but I know that there is in Christianity, in some of the more, I know that the physicality of the transfiguration or transmigration, I forget what the word is, but the actual body of Christ being, the bread turning into the body of Christ, and the wine turning into the blood of Christ, and this reverence of the physicality of our bodies and the earth, and the physicality of this word you all know what it is. There is something in Christianity that reveres the actual base, the actual physicality of our relationship with our bodies and the earth. And I don't know much more about that. I know Richard Rohr was talking about it, so maybe that has something to do with it. So I'd like to hear some comments about that. And then Chris Mastropietro, who's always so thoughtful, he said that it was like overhearing when they were speaking philosophy. It was like overhearing as he is speaking. So that made me think, you're overhearing your pre-intellectual awareness of quality. And so all you have to do is speak it authentically because it's already there. And if you connect to quality, then what comes out of your mouth, the philosophy that comes out of your mouth, is quality, is something you don't have to manipulate or try to make it something it's not. You just speak the truth. I mean, and it's kind of like, there is a very spiritual element to that. And the last thing I want to say is I'm working on my, I think I know what I feel about God and quality. And I think I'm actually not going to talk about it just yet. I mean, what I said was God puts quality into the universe and lets it run. I don't exactly think that. I think that's a little bit too simplistic and a little bit too deterministic. And I think what I'm going to do is, I think Mary and I are going to have another conversation soon. So I'm going to talk about that with Mary. So I hope that made sense, and I'll see you next. I'll see you on Sunday. Take care.